So let's get started on my album review. It's Murs, Ninth Wonder, and the Soul Council on The Iliad is Dead and the Odyssey is Over. So I honestly just picked this one because it had the longest name.
Yep, fair enough. That is fair.
It's a huge collaborative project between Murs, who is the rapper, Ninth Wonder, who is a producer, and the Soul Council, who are a huge collective of producers, of which Ninth Wonder is a part of. So I don't know why they're credited separately.
Yeah.
Maybe he did like the most amount of producing. I don't know. It's a very lyric heavy album, so I will be reading out a lot of lyrics. It starts out with The Hulk, and it's just cold bars on top of one of the most stripped back minimalistic beats I have heard in a while. In the first verse, he says, "I'm from the streets, not the sidewalk. They listen when I talk. Another rapper dead and they saying that it's my fault. I have no recollection of the vivid vivisection. I will not be blamed for your neighbour's imperfections." So, at that point, he's really reminding me of like Aesop Rock.
Right.
But like, just in the delivery, he's not as unhygienic or...
Yeah.
Like, he's a little more braggadocious as well. But yeah, just like the diverse vocabulary that he uses and the vocal inflections are very similar. The next track is Cancun '08. This one features Silk Money and Pookie Blow. And again, it's on a very nice, relaxing beat. Sounds like something that Currency would rap over. I really like Silk Money. I think I liked him the most on this track. They're all like very lyrical, sort of, not really conscious rappers, but like a little bit conscious. They don't always make sense though. It could just be like something personal to them, or I'm not understanding it. But there are some pretty cool lyrics. Time is money and we eating it quick. Although it's funny how we waste both when neither exist. Send the kids back to school like the sleep didn't stick. Then break the lock off the door as if my key didn't fit. But I think my favourite would be, pictures steal souls, so be careful of whose camera you're staring in. I think that is really clever.
That is hard.
My Hero is up next, and it's just one big verse. It's a story about a girl, which is about selling her body.
Right.
It starts... I'll be reading quite a lot of this one. It is very... like, it's a very big storytelling kind of track. It's very lyric heavy. Mm-hmm. It starts out at the start of this girl's life. Absent father, crackhead mama, traditional recipe for childhood trauma. And then it follows her into adolescence and early adulthood. Everything was bad but got worse when her titties came. Shitty way to say it, but that's how they saw it. The predators and pedophiles that watched from the closet. They pose as her best friend, her boyfriend, her brother, her doctor, her lawyer, her pastor, her lover. She learned to trust no one other than herself. For survival, she's sacrificing her mental health. Revealing clothing, her body on a shelf. She put it all out there except for how she felt. Her depression was hidden, expression forbidden, because men take advantage of vulnerable women, and she wasn't stupid. She used what she had to get what she needed and secure that bag. As the bag got bigger, she had mad neighbours, trying to punk her and rob her. They plotting to get her. And this is like really good storytelling, and you may not believe me, but it gets better.
Right.
Sell sex in the US and no one protects you. So pimps and the pushers is who you connect to. Women, they judge you, they hate you, reject you. The oldest profession, yet no one respects you. So you deserve to be held captive, trapped in the basement with a sadistic bastard. Half of you desperate, the other half scared. You don't ask for help, you think no one will care. They look at you, say that you chose to be there, like you chose to get raped because of the clothes that you wear. In the house where there's guns and there's dope everywhere, why not use these tools to snatch hope from despair? And then there's like a little beat break and like a surprisingly sad trumpet solo comes in. Like, I can't say I've ever heard a sad trumpet before.
Right.
But it sounded like, I don't know, maybe it's like the storytelling helping this sort of sound this way, but the trumpet just sounded very like isolated. And like that's fucked up. People thinking that you deserve to be literally tortured and raped in a basement just because you choose to sell your body.
Yeah.
You know, if you fall on hard times.
Yeah.
No matter what kind of person you are, that's not deserved. And then Murs comes back in after about sort of like 10 seconds of the sad trumpet. She tied around her neck, made a cape out of sheet, became a superhero when she shot him in his sleep. The truest defender of justice and peace, a smile on her face as she threw as she flew through the streets. So I'm not sure if that was based on the true story or not, but I really, really liked it. It's one of those stories where like you're not even paying attention to like the rhymes or the wordplay. You're just focusing on visualizing the story in your head.
Yeah.
The next track is Gas Station Gucci Belt, and it details his childhood. One verse will put your eye out. Fuck around and find out. Underground for years, it's too deep for me to climb out. Tunnels in the catacombs, running from a battered home. I told my step pops I would kill him if I had the chrome. Then it skips forward to when he's an adult, looking back at his childhood. Didn't have it back then. That's why I copped the retro and the kicks and the toys, because I'm trying to fill the void of a childhood that the demons and the alcohol destroyed. Unicorn Glitter is a love ballad about coochie. I thought this track was a little bit weird.
Right. It sounds like it.
You know that? What's that? LL Cool J song where he's talking about women. It's Hey something.
No idea.
I'll see if I can find it. He's like, the intro says like, "Hey baby," in a really sort of like creepy way, and that's what this song reminds. Hey lover.
Hey lover.
Yeah, that one. So like, yeah, it's a love song about coochie. But as long as it's warm and the shit don't stink, ain't no coochie in the world that can make my dick shrink, is what he says. But then he just starts spitting actual facts about the anatomy of a vagina.
Right.
Which I thought was just like a bit strange. Whether virgin or a whore, the tightness all depends on the pelvic floor. Look, multiple partners don't loosen up your grip. That's pure bullshit and a man-made myth. It's a whole bunch of muscle, soft tissue in the middle. So if you can't fit, just kiss her a little. Foreplay always opens up the doorway, a universal truth from Africa to Norway. If your pussy's tight, that don't mean at the best. If your pussy's tight, that means you're way too stressed. Then later in verse 2, tampons don't stretch your shit out. Look, take 2 fingers, put them in your mouth, stretch it out. Don't it bounce right back? Now your pussy got way more muscles than that, so don't believe the hype. I don't really know why he chose to do a song on that, but it is over a very like simple, relaxing beat, and it does sound good, although a little creepy at times.
Yeah.
High Noon marks the halfway point in the album. It features Ruben Vincent and Rhapsody. The first verse is Murs and Rhapsody going line for line. They were just having a competition for who could use the biggest word at one point. Mamba shit, all kind of shit, my buzz be like Obama lit. I rhyme with no recognizance. The flow is a stream of consciousness from continent to continent, combining vowels with consonants. We crush in competition that be claiming they can conquer this. It's fucking hard. Then in verse 2, Murs says something that I'm not a huge fan of, and I do want to talk about this for a little bit. Yeah, high noon on these neighbours. It's like I might as well be from the moon on these neighbours. It's a whole different world like shrooms on these neighbours. No mask, but I'm gassing like doom on these neighbours. Yeah, now all the white kids can sing along. And that caught me a little bit off guard. I'll read out the next couple of lines because I don't want to take this out of context. But don't forget the privilege and the baggage that you bring along. Yeah, it's one time for the culture. I'm only trying to teach you. I'm not trying to insult you. There's 2 reasons why I don't like this. First reason is like about 20% of the reason of why I don't like it. I think it's very similar to when Kendrick invited like that white woman on stage to perform Mad City with him. It's kind of like he knew that song had the N-word in there.
Yep.
So it's kind of like baiting people, like dangling a carrot in front of them kind of thing.
Right.
But the other reason, which lies at 80% of my dislike, is it doesn't relate to anything else in this song or album or his entire discography. The rest of this verse has him talking about how well he can spit and other obvious social issues he raises in the album, like My Hero talks about prostitution. In another song from his 15 years ago, he says, any white boy who think he knows my struggle because he listens to Pac and his adrenaline doubles. Now I ain't got problems with you being yourself, but when you front and use the N-word, it just don't help. I might not trip and your friends will laugh at you, but I know some real neighbours that'll straight up slap you. Which I think is a much more mature way of saying you shouldn't say this word. You know, you might not understand the weight that it carries. But that's the only other time throughout his entire discography that he brings up racial issues involving that word. I checked his socials, I looked through interviews, and he's never made a comment about it before. So I just don't really see why he brought that up if it didn't really relate to anything.
Yeah.
It was more just like the immature way that he said it. That sort of like if he said it in a mature way, like that song from 15 years ago,
Right.
I probably wouldn't have a problem with it
Okay.
because he's raising, a racial issue. But basically, just saying, the N word a heap of times. He's going, okay, I'm going to stop, so now you can sing along.
Yeah.
That's like, a little bit immature, I think. Night Shift is the next track. It's about how hard he has had to work to get to where he is, and his family and friends telling him to just give up. In the second verse, he has a look at today's rap and shares a few thoughts on it, and addresses other popular thoughts from people his age. Saying what you do as MC and rap, just because the words rhyme and the beat slap, and it ain't generational, believe that, because neighbours spit from Jaden Smith to G-Rap. Every era has a Ja Rule or Lil Boat. There's a shit you listen to, and the shit you quote. I don't divide the lanes, I just stay in mine, and you can hear it when I hit the stage and say a rhyme. I do really, really like that. Like, he recognises that although he doesn't like some people, they have their place there.
Yeah.
That they've got a lane, and he's saying, I don't cross over into yours, I just stay in mine.
I like the some you listen to and some you quote.
Yeah, that's really, really clever. Like,
That's nice.
yeah, because like you can't just listen to conscious rap all the time. Like, that'd just be mentally draining.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to listen to something that slaps.
Yeah.
So-
Slappers.
Yeah, I think that's really clever. Give Me a Reason is the next track. It's a classic. I know I shouldn't have cheated on you, baby. I know I fucked up. Please take me back kind of song. It's not good, not bad. There's one bit in the production that I don't like. It's not that it sounds bad, but it's way too loud. And every time I listen to the track, I wince and I have to turn it down. I'll play it a little bit. I'm not really sure what time this actually comes up, but I'll see if I can find it. It's just like the production is really good, but there's just this one noise in there that's so like high pitched and loud. That's the right thing. What's his name? Murs. So that sort of
Yeah.
guy. It's so piercing.
Yeah.
I really like the sample, that sounds cool, but that noise, it's so, that's all you can hear.
Yeah, that was quite grating.
Yeah, that's a good word for it. So yeah, I'm not a huge fan of that song. I can't listen to it properly. Super Cujo Bros is up next. It features Cujo and QG. No, GQ, that one.
Oh, yeah, GQ.
As far as I can tell, it's not the company that's on there.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
some other random man.
Yep.
It's okay, it's just like a flex track, but considering it is from lyrical conscious rappers, it's not about money, more so just talent. Fuck Them is a track about an abusive relationship. The first verse is Murs talking to a woman, saying that this dude would walk up behind you, try to put his dick on you, and then when you get mad, he'd just blame it on drinking, but that would happen every single weekend. He's a liar, he's a cheater, and you should leave him. The second verse is Murs talking to a guy, saying, since her pops was a cheater, you are too. Every time you're not together, she's accusing you of cheating, even though she's never caught you. She's saying that you're spending way too much time with your friends, etc., etc. You should leave her. I thought that was pretty cool, sort of sharing the two sides of it. But then it ended there, and I think it really would have topped it off much more if he had a third verse where he just says, you don't have to deal with all that, you're worth more, kind of thing, and sort of spoke to both of them.
Yep.
I think that would be a really cool way of ending it. And then Tony Robbins' Pocketbook is the second last track. It's about a lot of things. He's telling us not to bow down to the dollar bill, to stay true to ourselves, to help others. And he says that you don't need a reason to help others. You just do it to do it.
Yep.
He says a few things he's done in the past for one reason or another, and he ends the song on, but mostly it was just good for my soul. The last track is called Sin. This song is crazy good. It explains in excruciating detail of how he cheated on his wife.
Right.
I cannot recommend listening to this song enough, and I won't say anything more about it because there's a really, really good detail at the end that I don't want to spoil. But it's so it's just like the pinnacle of storytelling. This one little detail, it's like you're thinking one thing, you hear this and you're like, oh shit, and you got to like rethink everything. It's that kind of thing.
It's a heartbreaker.
Yeah, that's a great word for it. So I'm not going to say any more on this, but go and listen to Sin by Murs, Ninth Wonder and the Soul Council off The Iliad is Dead and The Odyssey is Over. It is a really, really good song. I cannot recommend that enough. And yeah, I wish I could write more because I would dissect this thing a lot. But overall, the album was like really, really good. The production and lyricism was consistent, although the content a little bit choppy at times. But that is the worst thing I have to say about the album, that the content's choppy. Looking back, I cannot believe I chose this one just because it had a long name.
Right.
That's pretty lucky. I'm very glad I listened to it. I'm giving it a 9.2 out of 10.
9.2 out of 10.
Yep.
All right.